These awesome schemes. And Ray, how about the 13 of Casey Mears this weekend?
Oh, yeah. Every time I see that, it reminds me of, there it is, the mystery Chevelle. Was it a 7/8? Did he really drive it away with no fuel tank in it? My hero, my mentor, Smokey Yunick, watched the fuel in that 13 car this week.
Someday we're going to do Ray's cars up here. That's like a 3/4. It's not even a 7/8 size car.
Yeah, that was appropriate that Ray picked that one to talk
yes,
about.
It was.
For sure.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, he was
not a
ready. All right,
coincidence.
Clint Boyer honoring the late Hall of Famer Benny Parsons. He's had a ton of success in his career at Darlington. Ricky Stenhouse recognizing Darrell Waltrip, who, as we mentioned, has a handful of Darlington wins, and Waltrip will be honored by several drivers. Kyle Busch with that Interstate Batteries car. A nod, who is it? Oh, yeah, that's right. Dale Jarrett.
Yeah. Joe Gibbs' first win.
Yeah, the Daytona 500 for Joe Gibbs in 1993. Dale being honored by several drivers. Carl Edwards honoring a current driver, the only current driver to be honored, Tony Stewart, with his 1999 rookie scheme for Joe Gibbs Racing. And Matt Kenseth with the Tide Ride. We heard that mentioned earlier with the JGR report. You gotta love the Tide Ride. That's a classic.
Yeah.
DJ, how about though Ryan Blaney's scheme? A shout out to the Silver Fox.
You know, the Wood brothers have gone all out both years with this, and this is such a cool looking car right here. Really takes me back to a time, because I don't know that anybody in their career has been better than David Pearson at this racetrack. And when I started my career and he would run what was the Busch Series Xfinity races, and I could get close enough to him just for a few laps, I tried to mimic what he was doing, because he was the man around this track. And that's a great looking car for Ryan Blaney.
Blaney hopes what he can do what Pearson did many times, and that's get a win there. Joey Logano's scheme mirrors that of Bobby Labonte. Bobby, a winner of the Southern 500. And Kyle, here's a good one. Landon Castle.
Yeah, I love this car. And why? Because it's got Rumpel furniture on it, and that was JD's sponsor. JD was a journeyman driver, an independent. So many times we go to the top of the chart and mimic and do and copy the guys that won races and stuff. These are the guys that helped build NASCAR. JD, his family, Rumpel Furniture. This is a special, special paint scheme.
J.D. McDuffie, that's a good one. All right, Eric Almirola summoning the king, Kyle, in the iconic 43. Pretty timeless look. Jimmy Johnson, a nod to both David Pearson and Dale Earnhardt. Classic. Tough to top. Jeff Gordon driving for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. And Jeff, that's the Gray Ghost.
Yes, it is. Buddy Baker. Thinking about Buddy Baker and all the speed he had, especially on the big racetrack. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this car fast on Sunday night.
Junior really wanted to drive that scheme, as he said in this podcast this week. More Darlington ahead as we continue on this special edition of NASCAR America.
1977. I had a leisure suit. Well, sort of. When David Pearson won the Southern 500, while the Millennium Falcon hit hyperdrive on the silver screen. John Travolta and Saturday Night Fever brought out the rise in disco. And the king of rock and roll passed away at age 42.
At Supercuts, we pay attention to every detail. The cut, the lines, the hot towel finish. So you'll feel sharp, clean, and ready to go.
Here we go.
And the moment you're not feeling ready, pop right back in and we'll get you ready to go again. Now you can save time by checking in online.
Hair can be as strong as copper wire. The Gillette Mach 3 is precision engineered to cut hair this tough. No wonder it has the world's #1 selling blades. Mach 3, now as low as $10. Gillette.
The search for better is one of our greatest traits as humans. It's a new commitment.
You're in.
A bold move.
You're in.
Even a fresh start. This appetite for better is everywhere. In people, communities, and also at Subway. Every day we're finding new ways to serve fresh, locally sourced produce and food free of artificial preservatives whenever and wherever possible. Because the best way to stay fresh is to never get stale.
It's time to do what you love at Guitar Center's Labor Day Savings Event. With a 5-piece SPL drum kit or a Simmons 5-piece electronic drum kit, your choice just $3.99. Summer may end, but your music doesn't have to. Guitar Center's Labor Day Savings Event, in-store and online.
Meet the John Deere Gator XUV 590i, a vehicle so versatile, it owns anything outdoors. 32 horsepower, a 1,200-pound payload, and over 1,000 different ways to configure yours. Go Gator.
Some might call us old-fashioned for being one of the only distilleries in America to make its own barrels. For making our own charcoal and taste testing every batch of whiskey until it's perfect. Of course, anyone who calls us old-fashioned won't hear an argument from us. We know how to take a compliment. The Jack Daniel Distillery, 150 years and counting.
This is where it gets sweet, people. It's a throwback celebration in Darlington. The race to the chase continues Sunday, only on NBC.
IndyCar drivers, your mission is almost complete. With 2 races left, it's imperative you lead the pack in the Grand Prix at the Glen.
Here comes the fight. This battle far from done.
Coverage begins Sunday at 2 Eastern on NBCSN.
Coming up in just a few minutes, an incredible look at NASCAR's oldest super speedway in Southern Speed, the Legend of Darlington. The track the drivers can't forget even if they wanted to, in part because of the bruise that it tends to leave behind. It's known as the Darlington Stripe. Darius Rucker is hosting tonight's show.
Generations of drivers and cars have been branded with a Darlington Stripe.
The custom sheet metal wear comes from a 140-mile-an-hour brush with the rail.
You're always trying to pride yourself in not getting one.
If it didn't come back with a Darlington Stripe, you slap the driver because he's not getting it done.
But not all brushes with the wall truly capture the Darlington legend.
For the record, if you go into turn 1, that's not a Darlington Stripe, that's a wreck. The Darlington Stripe is when you would come off that corner and get that thing hung out where you would lay on that guardrail, and it would put 2 distinct areas on the quarter panel or on the right rear bumper, and a lot of drivers would drive it and just set their car on that guardrail almost. That's a Darlington Stripe.
So Kyle, to be clear, there are 2 different factions, 2 different definitions of what the Darlington Stripe is. Can you clear it up?
Yeah, mine's right. Here's the thing. And you saw in that footage, the corners had a guardrail around it, and the guardrail did not match up coming out of turn 4, which is now turn 2. And the guys would get up on the high side. We've talked and we've documented. It's an odd-shaped racetrack, so it tightened up off of that corner. They would get up, and you would lay you would lay the right rear bumper out onto it almost, but it would put 2 creases down the side of the quarter panel, which was a stripe, 2 distinct stripes. If you wreck going into turn 3, it's a wreck. It's not a stripe. It's a wreck coming out of 4. It's a wreck anywhere. We don't have a Bristol stripe. We don't have a Daytona stripe. They're called wrecks. At Darlington, turn 4, it's a stripe. Sorry, end the conversation.
And for the record, I never had to slap Jeff Gordon because he used up the right side of our stuff pretty good.
All right, so let's turn towards just the uniqueness of this track, Jeff Burton. And to you, what one feature stands out the most?
I think to me, it's how different one end of the racetrack is from the other. And you know, when you enter turn 1, you lift, but then you are right back in the throttle, and then you are carrying some speed in turn 2, and you almost go straight for just a little while in between 1 and 2, and then you have to make the turn off of turn 2, and you are going so fast. And it's one of the few racetracks where you have to actually come back out of the throttle to leave the exit of the corner. Most racetracks, you throttle and you continue to put more throttle on it as you leave. Well, here you're carrying a lot of speed through the middle of the corner, so most of the time full throttle. Then you have to lift back off the throttle to be able to turn into turn 2, and then you go back to the throttle. And that's just so unique in racing. 3 and 4 is a little more normal, although it's not normal at all. It's a little more normal to a what we would call a normal track. But the exit of turn 2 is just, it's so exhilarating to do when you do it right. But as Kyle said, that the stripe and the wreck are easily confused. It's really easy to wreck off turn 2.
Yeah, I think it's the most exciting part of any track that you go to from a driver's standpoint, that exiting that corner, trying to do it wide open. Jeff's talking about in and out of the gas. You're trying to do it wide open, but I don't know of another track that I ever went to that every single lap that I made off of that corner, I was holding my breath. Because you're speaking of just inches, that if you make it perfect, you've only missed the wall by inches. And you do this lap after lap, and trying to race someone off there is a terrible idea. But we'll see that happen on Sunday night. So it's as much fun for me to watch as it was to drive.
A lot to look forward to, including those paint schemes that we've showed you throughout the program. Our poll asked you which was your favorite throwback scheme that we'll see this weekend. And as we can see at the bottom of the screen, it looks like Eric Almirola, Kyle, and the 43 is the fan favorite at the time being.
Yeah, for the time being, I'm telling you, I'm with Dale, though. I'm going to have to say, Tony Stewart in that Coca-Cola car was absolutely amazing. But all these guys have their original sponsors. That's what make these things really look cool throwbacks.
Well, we can't wait for this weekend, and we can't wait for up next. Great job, all of you gentlemen. We appreciate the insight. That's all for NASCAR America. You know what's coming up next. Don't miss it. 1 hour, Darlington. All about it up next.
Darlington is supposed to be the meanest racetrack.
This is Darlington International Raceway, the granddaddy of them all.
He's in trouble! He's in trouble!
It happened. And he certainly appears to be unconscious.
Sash, bad son of a...
Because that place is our roots.
Name the great ones. Darlington will tell you which are the greatest.
You think it's going to be just another Sunday drive? No, ma'am.
From its first race, Darlington Raceway stood out as NASCAR's first paved superspeedway. The granddaddy of NASCAR's racetracks started right in history nearly 10 years before Daytona International Speedway.
My grandfather always said anybody could go to Daytona and win. Darlington was the place in his mind. And it's the most odd-shaped, worn-out piece of junk racetrack you've ever seen in your life.
Darlington doesn't have those really nice suites and chandeliers and crap. It's a racetrack. It's a freaking racetrack. It's a badass racetrack.
And it was the best thing that ever happened to NASCAR. There's no other track like it, and that's the magic.
What makes Darlington so great is the racetrack. It is what happens between that inner wall and that outer wall for 500 miles.
The rocks and the sand that's in the soil down there. Made in the old school southern low grip asphalt.
The distinctive pavement wasn't the only unique quality of the raceway. The site was once a plantation with a highly prized minnow pond. To accommodate this landmark, the track became shaped more like an egg than an oval. These oddities forged the mystique of a track competitors labeled too tough to tame.
Darlington is called a driver's track. Its mile and 3/8 is one of the most difficult to drive.
It's more up to the driver than it is at most tracks.
Unlike any track, this oval produced victors of uncommon valor. Here, legends arose, distinguished by the same grit that paved such hallowed ground.
If I was to go back to running today, I'd try my best to run the same place I did before.
Even with all of its difficulties, I wanted to race at Darlington.
The two ends are polar opposites of each other. The only thing that's a constant is they're both extremely narrow.
You come
down the front stretch and kind of pump yourself up mentally to be really brave. And then down the back stretch, you're going so fast because the shape of the corner, and then you have to try to pull the reins back in and slow yourself down.
This is the real tricky part of the racetrack.
When you really ask drivers where they'd like to win, they all want to put Darlington on their resume.
I know going in the victory lane there has meant a ton to me. It's a tough racetrack.
Mastery of Darlington required guts. Creating such a revered site required vision. Even its first running, over a half-century ago, stands as a legendary tale on its own.
This may not look like your average trucker, and this, your average truck. But deep down, we're truck guys just like you. We know our way around a toolbox. We soup them up, trick them out, and occasionally take them off-road. We're not afraid to mix it up, because winning is our passion.
Meet the John Deere Gator XUV 590i, a vehicle so versatile, it owns anything outdoors. 32 horsepower, a 1,200-pound payload, and over 1,000 different ways to configure yours. Go Gator.
Hot Pockets!
At our house, we're always down for more. Case in point, our handcrafted skydiving chamber.
Be hungry for more. Just never be hungry. With premium pepperoni and 100% real cheese.
Hot Pockets!
The Kia Top Quality Sales Event ends September 6th. But you can still get great deals on the versatile Sportage, ranked highest in its segment in initial quality by J.D. Power, or the rugged Sorrento, named a 2016 IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus. Visit Kia.com to learn about our limited time lease and purchase offers and to see how Kia quality ranks versus the competition. Hurry in, the Kia Top Quality Sales Event ends soon.
Few who move toward the sounds of chaos. Forged in the crucible of training, they are the first to move toward the sounds of tyranny, injustice, and despair. They are the few, the proud, the Marines.
The commute was exhausting. I was spending more time in my car than I was with my kids. So we used Zillow to look for a place closer to work. You know, I feel like I got my family back.
Whatever home means to you, we'll help you find it. Zillow.
This is the Wix Artificial Design Intelligence creating a website for you. Sit back and relax and watch me make your website original from start to stunning. Go to Wix.com today.
Well, she loves to say, well, fantastic. A lot.
I do say that.
I study psychobiology. I'm a fine arts major.
Nobody really believes that I take notes this way, but they actually make sense to me.
I try to balance my studying with the typical college experience. This Windows PC is a lifesaver. Being able to pull up different articles to different parts of the screen is so convenient.
I used to be a Mac user, but this is way better.
Daytona International Speedway was built to be fast. Talladega Superspeedway was built to be big. But Darlington Raceway was built first.
There are other big tracks now. There are other races. But here's where big league stock car racing was born, at Darlington.
NASCAR was a baby when the raceway in Darlington was dreamed up. A sport just beginning to crawl was about to run, leaving behind dirt tracks for asphalt. Half miles for mile plus. The raceway at Darlington was a dream, a gamble. Darlington Raceway was the vision of a truck-driving construction worker named Harold Brasington.
So Harold Brasington built the cradle of the racing game as we know it today.
The first really large race I saw was at Pineville, right out of Charlotte. It was a board track, and it was either a 250-mile or 500-mile race. My father took me up there in 1924. And it's such a tremendous race. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that's when the bug really hit me.
He's
been called a visionary, and that's a good way to describe him. He actually wrote an introductory letter in the program for the first Southern 500, and he said, daydreaming's an inalienable right for every American.
In 1933, I got in the car, a few friends and myself, and we went to Indy.
It was hard for people to relate to an Indy car. So he had the idea of building the Darlington Raceway and then have stock cars. They could bring a car out that people could relate to.
Another man inspired by the big car racing of Indianapolis was Bill France. He formed NASCAR in 1948 and knew Brazington from the beach races in Daytona. France thought stock car racing could turn a few heads. Brazington thought NASCAR could turn into a sports revolution.
Bill France had a dirt track organization. The idea of a paved track for those cars to run like 500 miles wasn't a chance in the world. But Harold went ahead and did it anyway.
So on Sunday, I knew nothing. See 300 or 400 people come out and say, watch out what they're doing. They said, well, he's either got a sunstroke or lost his mind, one or the other. They said, well, I said, I'll show you one day.
Labor Day 1950. That was the day that Brazington had in mind. Fitting for this lofty labor of love. Brazington stood behind his vision of a paved raceway as the future of NASCAR, while others wondered if he had lost his mind.
They started selling stock, and people in Darlington were just shaking their heads going, this is crazy. And they shook their heads all the way into the bank to take money out and buy stock. A lot of people were skeptical, but they weren't going to miss out on it either.
In just over a year, Harold Brazington turned a peanut patch and pecan grove into a mecca for motorsports.
Mr. Conor Mackey, you've always been close to racing, but, this is a bit ridiculous.
Well, Jackie, everyone always wants to drive the winning car at Darlington, and now I've finally done it. And this is the winning car of the very first Southern 500, Labor Day 1950, the race that put stock car racing in the major leagues.
Bill France was there, Raymond Parks was there, so many Hall of Famers were there for that first race. That speaks volumes to what Darlington was, even in the beginning. You had to be there. If you wanted to race, you had to go to Darlington.
Curtis Turner was going to be there. The previous year's champion, Red Byron. Herschel McGriff was fresh off his win in the Mexican road race, which made worldwide news, so holy cow.
In Mexico, Bill France's description of the giant paved raceway astonished Herschel McGriff. In the days before interstates, GPS, and tractor trailers, a driver like Herschel didn't simply prepare a car to race. He actually drove his 1950 Oldsmobile from Oregon to South Carolina.
I would get a U.S. map and I'd draw a line from Portland straight to Darlington. And then each state map that I was going to go through to find my direction. But that one line would always keep me from getting way off course.
After a 3,000-mile drive, McGriff still had 500 more miles to go. 25,000 fans turned out for the show.
On the largest and most modern stock car speedway in the world, 75 cars parade, ready to race for the largest purse ever offered in stock car competition.
Like going from acoustic to electric, Darlington unveiled a new era in stock car racing.
Here they come. They're off.
It was crowded. There was cars running 8 or 10 deep, side by side, and get it everywhere.
Those guys would get up to speed down the front stretch, and then when they get to the first corner, instead of going in the corner up on the bank, they would turn and go around the flat. You're looking at a racetrack that was designed for 115 miles an hour that they now run 190 miles an hour, but it took a long time for people to get brave enough on a mile racetrack to get up on the bank.
Everybody had a different ideas about what it would take to survive 500 miles. Some of them even put black underneath the eye like football players.
The tires were a bit of a problem, too. They were just popping tires like popcorn.
500 punishing miles that equal the strain of 50,000 miles of normal highway driving.
some of the mechanics were actually going out into the infield and taking tires off of, some of the fans' cars so that they'd have enough tires to finish the race.
Blows a tire and slides. There's another one out of control. No, he's all right.
The bank was so hard on tires because it was not smooth up there. When the rollers were rolling, they didn't get the rocks down.
Paved tracks were not foreign to Johnny Mance. The Californian was the slowest qualifier of the field, but he was the only one who came to Darlington prepared for the abuse of asphalt.
Johnny Mance had raced at Indianapolis several times, and he knew that you needed a very hard compound, and he brought truck tires with him.
While we were changing tires, he was making up laps on us. We're changing tires with wheel wrenches and a jack, and guys that had never done it.
They didn't have the regular guy that go to the racetrack shoot. I'd go to drugstores and barber shops, beer joints, anywhere else. They had overalls on and everything else. Just pick up anybody that wanted to go to the race. He'd get him in freeway. He'd work on the car,
How many laps do we lose every time we stop? It's hard to tell. And meanwhile, he's just going around there adding them up. And he come out and he got first place.
Johnny Mance in this 49 Plymouth, and he drove for 6 hours and 38 minutes, and he won $10,000.
A track emerged that was too tough for just any driver to master. And one day, in a usually quiet South Carolina town, NASCAR was transformed.
What's Le Mans, or Monza, or Monte Carlo? Nothing compared to Darlington. We are the capital of the auto racing world.
This is my 2017 Spyder F3S. It features a new sport mode that unleashes the fun factor at the push of these two buttons. That's my kind of girl. Visit canamspider.com or your nearest dealer for more details.
My business is built with passion, but I keep it growing by making every dollar count. That's why I have the Spark Cash Card from Capital One. With it, I earn unlimited 2% cash back on all of my purchasing. And that unlimited 2% cash back from Spark means thousands of dollars each year going back into my business, which adds fuel to my bottom line. What's in your wallet?
Every superhero is thought to be unstoppable until he meets another.
Von Miller with the sack. Denver Broncos have won Super Bowl 50.
Your Ford dealer's Labor Day Sell-a-thon is going on now. Celebrate freedom from interest with 0 APR for 6 full years on a huge selection of Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs. Specially tagged vehicles get an extra $1,000 smart bonus cash or get $1,000 trade assistance on F-150. Drive one home for just $209 per month. That's the best lease offer of the year. Just $209 per month for a loaded F-150 4x4. These offers absolutely end September 6th. So hurry to your California Ford dealer.
Winter has what you want.
Drive into Winter Chevrolet off Highway 4 in Pittsburgh. Right now, get huge discounts during the spectacular Labor Day sales event. Save on over 150 new Chevys in stock. Drive a new Silverado LTZ 4x4 Crew Cab V8 for $12,500 off MSRP. That's a huge 16% discount. Or choose a well-equipped Suburban LTZ 4x4 for $12,500 off MSRP and save 12%.
Winter has what I want.
Shop online at winterchevrolet.com.
Winter has what you want.
In 1950, racing introduced Darlington to the world. Darlington obliged through genuine South Carolina hospitality with parades, pageants, and of course, a party.
This was a car like in the first Southern 500 that Buck Baker drove. Unfortunately, it was the first one to wreck. We like to take them out of mothballs at least once or twice a year. Let fans see what a little bit of racing history sounds like and looks like. My dad and uncle were at the racetrack, and I was probably 5 or 6 years old, and I'd go to the parade with my grandfather. And remember that as very vivid memories as a young kid. Darlington drew people from all over the United States and foreign countries. For back in the 50s and 60s, that was quite a draw. All the motels would be slammed full, restaurants. I mean, it was the biggest weekend of the year.
You know, you mentioned Darlington, there's like this instant, electrical charge that, you just harken back to the early days.
The pre-race action reaches a peak with the big parade through downtown Darlington. Now, downtown Darlington is not exactly New York or Chicago, but a parade's a parade.
That all came out of South Carolina pride. Darlington had something that others didn't. And they realized real soon that it was real different.
It wasn't too long into its tenure there that they said, well, heck, let's just have a big old blowout.
For these people, it's the World Series, the Kentucky Derby, the Super Bowl, all brought right to their hometown.
Most days you drive right through Darlington and never know it. There's one more race before the big one. 30 of Carolina's best-looking girls are lined up on the main straightaway at the track trying to win the Miss Southern 500 beauty title. There's the winner.
And then also they started bringing in big TV stars, too, like James Arness, Rory Calhoun, who was one of the big heartthrobs back then. And that brought worldwide attention.
That was a big deal. I mean, just huge names of the time.
It was unbelievable. I mean, here you're watching TV and seeing Gunsmoke or Rawhide, back in Eastwood's day. And all of a sudden, here they are.
They wanted to be seen, and that was like one of the big major events for the country, and it was probably the #1 stop on the circuit until Daytona opened.
And of course, we got to see our favorite race car drivers on the floats as well. So, it was a neat time when things were a lot more relaxed. The drivers were in town for a long time. They spent a lot of time in the community. And, everywhere there was a cookout, kind of a festival atmosphere going on.
Darlington, a quiet town of 6,000, hung out the welcome sign. From far and near, the fans began to gather.
That was the last big blowout of the year, the last big blowout of summer, Labor Day.
And when you think of Darlington over the years, you think of Labor Day.
Sunday night, the racetrack starts to fill. It's a Darlington tradition to spend the night before the race camped in the infield. There's about 10,000 fans settled in by nightfall. The kids are packed off to bed in trucks, tents, and trailers. But some of the fans won't get to sleep till sunup.
Like the asphalt ribbon that surrounded the infield, the holiday party could have a real rough edge.
That was the greatest party day in racing. Sunday. Track wasn't open, everybody partied.
It was raucous. The things that went on there were crazy. The infield was known as the Snake Pit.
I have to admit, I felt pretty special knowing that my granddad built this place. And I can remember the first time he drove me up into the infield through that tunnel. It was like a portal to another world. I mean, I saw these structures coming out of the beds of pickup trucks. People had built these platforms. The crowd was overwhelming. They had a jail in the infield. It was a rough crowd. They had a good time.
While fans turned Darlington's infield into their own Woodstock, drivers turning laps had their own wild time. Generations of drivers and cars have been branded with a Darlington stripe.
The custom sheet metal wear comes from a 140-mile-an-hour brush with the rail.
You're always trying to pride yourself in not getting one.
If it didn't come back with a Darlington stripe, you slap the driver because he's not getting it done.
But not all brushes with the wall truly capture the Darlington legend.
For the record, if you go into turn 1, that's not a Darlington stripe, that's a wreck. The Darlington stripe is when you would come off that corner and get that thing hung out where you would lay on that guardrail and it would put two distinct areas on the quarter pounder or on the right rear bumper. And a lot of drivers would drive it and just set their car on that guardrail almost. That's a Darlington stripe.
The stripe is a rite of passage on this old track, but dancing with Darlington can be a turbulent tango. The lady in black may sound cute, but that's a nickname earned by a history of ugly scenes.
There's something about the design, something about the aura of Darlington that causes spectacular action.
You got to get in there single file. You can't go in there two abreast into three.
What happens if you go in two abreast?
Somebody's going over the wall.
Johnny Allen torpedoes the scoring stand. The cameraman recording this very motion picture is hit. These are the films he keeps shooting as he's hit. Allen is alive, miraculously.
It is Richard Petty. And he certainly appears to be unconscious. Do they have him out of the car? Yes, there he is. He's in the ambulance, and Richard Petty will be rushed to the hospital.
Some people didn't come probably because of the danger. Others probably came because of the danger. So, you know, it makes it exciting. A lot of people are attracted to racing because it's an exciting sport.
Darlington never has been a normal track, and it never will be. And there's too much folklore, there's too much history, there's too many bright spots, low spots. It's totally the track of the unexpected.
It's a nice...
What I love most about Tempur-Pedic mattresses is that they contour to your body.
I just have to lay back in my Tempur-Pedic, and it just kind of forms to my body. It comes up to you, like, hey, there you are.
Hey, there you are.
I'm gonna put you to sleep now.
It keeps us comfortable and asleep at night. Can I take a nap now?
Change your sleep. Change your life. Change to Tempur-Pedic. Now through September 11th, upgrade and save on select Tempur-Pedic mattresses and adjustable bases during our Labor Day event.
What makes Wendy's Baconator different? While other guys use frozen beef from far away, Wendy's only serves fresh beef from ranches close by, so we don't have to freeze it. Add 6 strips of thick Applewood smoked bacon, and Wendy's Baconator isn't just different, it's deliciously different.
Beard hair can be as strong as copper wire. The Gillette Mach 3 is precision engineered to cut hair this tough. No wonder it has the world's #1 selling blades. Mach 3, now as low as $10. Gillette.
Have you ever had a vacuum in your car that you fell in love with? Well, you're about to.
Current owners or lessees of FCA or competitive vehicles finance and get $2,000 total cash allowance on the all-new Chrysler Pacifica.
For years, OPGI has led the way in restoration and performance parts for GTO, Tempest, Le Mans, Grand Prix, Bonneville, and Catalina. Manufacturer direct pricing assures you the finest quality at the lowest possible prices with the largest selection of in-stock parts anywhere, guaranteed. From interior parts to engine, sheet metal, and everything in between, OPGI has everything you need and more. Visit opgi.com today for your free full-color catalog.
Yep, it's termites.
Oh, get rid of them.
Oh, no, I'm not an exterminator. I'm a pest monitor. I only let you know when there's a problem. There's a problem. Bye.
Why monitor a problem if you don't fix it? That's why free credit monitoring isn't enough to protect you from identity theft. At LifeLock, we not only alert you to identity threats, if you have a problem, we'll spend up to $1 million on lawyers and experts who'll work to fix it. LifeLock. Join starting at $9.99 a month.
It just seems right that NASCAR's oldest paved track was the sport's most demanding.
Nobody's ever backed into a win there. I mean, if you won there, you won because you earned it.
2/3 of NASCAR's premier series champions grace Darlington's victory lane. More than half of her winners also claim their place in the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Was only something that you dreamed of, that you could win a cup race at Darlington against the very best.
You had the Fireballs and the Curtis Turners and the Junior Johnsons and the Ned Jarretts. Those are the guys that won that place, not Joe Smo from Kokomo.
Through the 1950s and 60s, South Carolina hosted the marquee date on the NASCAR calendar. Those 2 decades in the spotlight meant the time had come for South Carolina to call forward 2 of her own. Local pride soared thanks to 2 native sons who achieved even more than fame and championship. The supremacy of David Pearson and Cale Yarborough from 1968 to 1982 yielded 15 wins out of 30 races.
To have 2 of its native sons win and win big has been huge. Not every track can say that, but Darlington sure can.
Cale Yarborough was born and raised 8 miles from Darlington. He'd surely like to make a hometown crowd proud of him.
This whole stock car game is based on towns. It's not based on college and universities. Our folks came from the roots where we came from. And what made Cale so good there? He was one of the most determined, grittiest guys there was, and he was just plain fearless.
I was such a Cale fan growing up. And I'll never forget that look in his eyes. I mean, he still has that competitive fire.
Cale Yarborough and Dave Pearson are moving to a showdown.
Anytime that I had run with him, he was tough to pace.
Cale Yarborough was the bulldog. He was the charger. He was going to put his foot in it all day long.
Pearson on the inside, trying to take him. And they're absolutely right together, and Pearson bangs him into the wall again, and Pearson's in a spin. Cale gets through, and Pearson is down on the infield.
The checkered flag for Cale Yarborough. Cale Yarborough's made a boyhood dream come true.
Well, Cale, it must be a happy day for you, eh?
This is the happiest day of my life.
The first time victory before a hometown crowd.
Right, do it at home, that makes it better than anything in the world.
All 5 of Yarborough's Darlington wins were in the Labor Day Classic, the Southern 500. The Southern boy who pushed the sport into national prominence had a humble start, ironically, on a course called Yankee Hill.
My racing career started in a soapbox derby down a hill in Darlington, South Carolina. My dad was a race fan, and so I heard him talking about how great it was going to be to have the first super speedway right here in our backyard. Man, it looked like it was 10 miles around. Competitors are tough, but that racetrack is what you had to beat. I can drive by that racetrack now and get goosebumps just thinking about how tough that old place was. I hated the racetrack itself, but loved to win there better than anywhere else in the world. It was just physically and mentally tough. My win in Darlington in 1968. I would take it over any Daytona 500 because that's where it all started.
Even with great success against the field, Yarborough had more than his share of battles with the track too tough to tame.
It was just the car. You had to get the car underneath on it. And if you did, it didn't make no difference to him. He'd drive the far out of that thing.
He won a lot of races at Darlington, but could he have won more if he had driven the Pearson way? It's hard to say.
It's more or less a thinking track. Every lap you got to figure and think about the other guys, and it's still a one-groove racetrack just like it's always been, just certain places that you can pass.
Pearson is a very smart driver and would think about things. He just knew where he could go and when he could go.
Pearson held the lead for 18 laps, then let a few cars go by to see if Darlington was going to create any problems. It did. David Pearson had quietly tiptoed through the debris as the man in the start-finish tower waves the black and white.
People talking about it too tough to tame, and I said, if anybody's going to tame it, I'm going to try to tame it.
The reigning champion from Spartanburg, North Carolina, David Pearson.
We go to Darlington, and I remember him telling us, he says, I might run a little quicker qualifying. He goes out, sits on pole, wins the race.
No driver has won more races at Darlington than David Pearson. There's the checkered flag, and the fans are wildly cheering for their hero, David Pearson.
Pearson was a timeless hero for a timeless track. With 10 wins, a milestone that continues to be chased. Decades after retirement, he is still an inspiration.
David Pearson, he's one of those legendary guys that you just read about or see on TV, and so hanging out with him was really neat. I got to do a really neat thing with him at Darlington. I'm driving along in my, 2008 Claritin car, and I look over, and here he is, his arm on the window of the 21. He's just looking at me, and I thought, this is so cool.
See David Pearson passing me in the 21 car at Darlington. I'll never forget what that looked like.
It usually be a little bit tight coming off right here, but you know how I showed you how I went up and come across?
Right.
That would take that tightness out of it, and you wouldn't push coming off. One of these days, I'd like to get in one of these cars and see what it felt like.
And obviously that track has been so great to him.
To have my name up there with guys like David Pearson would be huge.
7 years later, the driving tips paid off.
He'll add his name to the legends that have won at Darlington. Carl Edwards wins the Southern 500.
To be a winner at the Southern 500, I mean, it's crazy. It was neat to make it just Darlington for just a moment. That's kind of fun.
Today we're going to talk about drag, and that can slow an object down. So in NASCAR, is this good or bad? Layla?
Bad, because when you go slow, you lose. You lose.
Sponsors disappear, no one will talk to you. All of a sudden your jokes aren't funny.
But when you go fast, you win, and you feel happy. Plus your parents take you out for ice cream.
You had me down and you brought me right back up. To the bus, I'm driving, we're getting some ice cream.
NASCAR Acceleration Nation. Jump in the driver's seat with the Acceleration Nation app and download today.
Meet the John Deere Gator XUV 590i, a vehicle so versatile, it owns anything outdoors that ends in ing, like hauling, exploring, off-roading, and, of course, braking. 32 horsepower, a 1,200-pound payload, and over 1,000 different ways to configure yours. Go Gator. Now you can own a Gator XUV 590i for as low as $133 a month. Learn more at your John Deere dealer.
You need to come with me.
This fall, NBC goes back in time, beginning next weekend with a throwback NASCAR event in Darlington. And this October, don't miss the premiere of Timeless.
Oh, the humanity.
You're telling me that this guy actually went back in time, for real, to the Hindenburg.
Go back in time, starting Sunday in Darlington.
I want to hold on.
And don't miss the premiere of Timeless, Monday, October 3rd after The Voice on NBC.
Your Ford dealer's Labor Day Sell-a-thon is going on now. Celebrate freedom from interest with 0 APR for 6 full years on a huge selection of Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs. Specially tagged vehicles get an extra $1,000 smart bonus cash or get $1,000 trade assistance on F-150. Drive one home for just $209 per month. That's the best lease offer of the year. Just $209 per month for a loaded F-150 4x4. These offers absolutely end September 6th. So hurry to your California Ford dealer.
We want to show you how the competition stacks up to Xfinity X1. There are basically two providers here. That's mine, the DirecTV.
Let's see who lets you talk directly into remote control. Show me kids' movies. What?
Show me action movies. Who do you think this is? Probably Roku.
This isn't DirecTV, though.
This is actually Xfinity X1 from Comcast.
Really? I may be changing my provider.
Visit Xfinity.com/challenge to see how DirecTV stacks up to Xfinity. Or upgrade today, risk-free for 30 days. Call 1-800-XFINITY or go online.
Each Labor Day weekend, Darlington, South Carolina hosted the biggest opening act any sporting event could imagine.
There's television stars and important guests from every part of South Carolina. It's important enough to bring award-winning television personalities like James Brolin here. Among the judges, Clint Eastwood, TV star.
A-list celebrities poured into town for the Southern 500 parade and pageant. But top billing of the Labor Day spectacle belonged to the rising stars of racing. Early on, the Raceway established a history of picking out the heroes of each generation. In 1961, a driver out of Illinois named Fred Lorenzen startled the Darlington crowd by challenging the Southern hero, Curtis Turner.
Here comes Lorenzen, number 28. They keep an eye on him. Lorenzen's running like an outlaw.
The win catapulted Lorenzen into a celebrated Hall of Fame career, a path many more would follow. There was Darrell Waltrip over Richard Petty.
Darrell Waltrip wins the Rebel 500.
Terry Labonte over David Pearson.
And there Labonte has gotten past Pearson, and there it is. Terry Labonte gets the checkered flag.
Dale Earnhardt over Cale Yarborough.
Dale Earnhardt on his way to a victory in the Rebel 500.
Those weren't fluke wins. They were defining moments.
You know, this old place will bite you. You can't forget where you're racing at.
Darlington International Raceway opened the gates this morning and some 40 race cars have swarmed into the garage area. Who will win all the marbles tomorrow? Well, you pick a name. Could be Buddy Baker, Lorenzen, Petty, Isaacs. What it all adds up to is the hottest competition ever staged here at the granddaddy of all the super speedways, the Darlington Raceway.
Media coverage of a race wasn't new, but Darlington became the first stock car track to be covered coast to coast. Little Darlington became nationally known through TV contracts and its own syndicated radio network.
As racing becomes more popular, the news media grows with it also. It goes from being local to being more statewide and then nationwide, and the next thing you know, you've got TV.
Hi, I'm Bill Fleming, back at this mean old race course in Darlington, South Carolina.
Certainly, the media made a difference.
The exposure made the Southern 500 an even richer prize on the NASCAR calendar as their final event of the Winston Million Bonus Program.
This is a 4-race combination that will give one driver a shot at winning $1 million from Winston.
The expectation was, well, that million's safe. No one will ever get it.
I was sitting at the banquet in '84. Boy, that'd be great to win that, wouldn't it? And I'm thinking, well, I've never won Daytona, I've never won here, and I've never won there, and it's like a long shot.
Only twice had a driver swept Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte, or Darlington in one season.
Leroy Yarborough begins a string of major victories unparalleled in the history of the sport.
And there's the checker for Dave Pearson, the winner.
The Grand Slam hadn't been accomplished since 1976. But in 1985, Bill Elliott kicked off the inaugural chase of the Winston Million by winning Daytona and Talladega.
Everyone thought he'd win it in 3 races, but he had trouble, so immense pressure going to Darlington.
The Million would be won or lost at Darlington, where Elliott would race the competition and NASCAR's toughest track.
We had our heads screwed on pretty straight when we went into that race. Things just kind of fell in my lap.
Spin in turn number 2 at Earnhardt, and right in front of Elliott, and Elliott misses him. Boy, that was close. Bill Elliott almost saw the $1 million go away.
It seemed like he dodged bullets all day long. He came up behind Cal Yarborough, and all of a sudden, all kinds of smoke. Immediately you thought, oh my gosh, Bill's going to smash into the wall. You really took your breath away for a minute because everybody was on board for Bill to win that $1 million.
One of the greatest memories I can think of is when Bill Elliott won the Winston Million back in the day. That really put that up on a pedestal.
Bill Elliott gets the checkered flag. Bill Elliott has won an additional $1 million in 1985.
There was something about Darlington that really kind of suited my driving style. Everything just fell perfectly that day.
After the surprise win of the first Winston Million, the Lady in Black kept other suitors at bay. But there were a few that came within a breath of cashing in before being struck by some bad fortune.
As we continue to keep the progress of Waltrip, and he may be slowing down. Sterling Marlin goes around on the outside. Oh, he's in the wall! Jared is in the wall!
All right.
Oh, no!
I'm in the wall.
In 1997, Jeff Gordon rolled into Darlington with the Winston Million in play. Daytona and Charlotte had been kind, but would luck be a lady at Darlington?
What makes it really, really intriguing to everybody in this garage area is that one guy has ever done it. And $1 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, 97 Southern 500 was for $1 million. I mean, $1 million.
It was intense for sure. A lot of money on the line, but it was the hype. That was the big thing about it. It was everybody building it up.
Today's the day. Jeff Gordon goes for the Winston Million.
Between Winston and what they were putting behind it, marketing, what the sport was doing, and then trying to capitalize on that moment with our sponsors, with me personally and our team and everything. We put more into that race from a marketing and hype standpoint than any other that I can think of.
If he is the first to finish 500 miles, then he will reap the riches.
we can just stay out of trouble and be at the end. I think our chances are good.
Money was a driving incentive, but Gordon had to contend with Jeff Burton, a driver motivated by the opportunity to claim his first Darlington victory.
It was no easy task. Jeff Burton, who's so good at Darlington, he was faster than us.
Looked like Jeff Gordon had to get off the throttle that time off two for some reason.
And Burton closes in.
Up to 99 inside, clear behind. I'm doing all I can right now to hang on to it.
He got a run on me and got underneath me, and you know, I ran him very hard and didn't cut him any slack.
It was only like 2 laps left, and then when I drove underneath Jeff coming off turn 4, getting the white flag, we were so much faster than him. When he turned left and ran me down the racetrack, I was wanting to avoid contact. Buddy Parrott, my crew chief at the time, he got in trouble because he was yelling on the radio, "Wreck him, wreck him, wreck him."
Jeff Burton will make a challenge off the corner onto the straightaway.
Yeah, we did
but
it!
Jeff Gordon wins it.
To hold him off, he could have ended our day very easily.
I still say that Jeff Gordon owes Jeff Burton half of that, because in today's world, somebody would have took him out.
You know, he raced us hard. We raced him hard. We ended up coming away with $1 million and celebrating, you know, the Winston million.
Following the 1997 $1 million win, Gordon captured another impressive feat by winning his 4th straight Southern 500.
It's his 10th win of 1998, his 4th consecutive in the Southern 500.
Nearing 50 years as the landmark of the sport, the allure, reward, and tradition of Darlington helped NASCAR grow into a national phenomenon. The perfect stage for stock car racing's definitive finish.
This is going to be close. Ricky Craven gets the win.
But the growth and excitement Darlington made possible threatened its future.
At Supercuts, we pay attention to every detail. The cut, the lines, the hot towel finish. So you'll feel sharp, clean, and ready to go. And the moment you're not feeling ready, pop right back in, and we'll get you ready to go again. Now you can save time by checking in online.
Crab Fest is on at Red Lobster, so come dive into dishes like the new Alaska Bear Dye Crab Dinner with sweet crab from the icy waters of Alaska. Or try Crab Lover's Dream with tender snow and king crab legs. Love crab? Then hurry, Crab Fest ends soon.
Well, she loves to say, well, fantastic.
A lot. I do say that.
I study psychobiology. I'm a fine arts major.
Nobody really believes that I take notes this way, but they actually make sense to me.
I try to balance my studying with the typical college experience. This Windows PC is a lifesaver. Being able to pull up different articles, different parts of the screen is so convenient.
I used to be a Mac user, but this is way better.
At our house, we're always down for more. Case in point, our handcrafted skydiving chamber.
Be hungry for more. Just never be hungry. With premium pepperoni and 100% real cheese.
Hot Pockets.
So, why the Marines? Because this is the land that I love, the country I'm honored to serve.
Okay, we're different. We have no ball or goal to put it in. We pass, but we don't hand off or punt. We don't play, we race.
Just watch me now.
Superstars collide. 4 weeks, 4 events, for the Cup. The playoffs continue on Golf Channel and NBC.
Parker. At the turn of the century, the popularity of NASCAR reached extraordinary heights. The rise to become America's largest spectator sport was fueled by stars that made their name on NASCAR's most challenging course. After a half-century of highlights, Darlington Raceway served up the most thrilling finish in the sport's history.
racing for the lead and the win. The crowd on the back straightaway is just going delirious.
They are dead even coming down to the line. This is going to be close. Ricky Craven gets the win, and they continue. The crash ended up into turn one.
Craven pounds the wall, bounces off it. Kurt Busch right back at him.
Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch. You put two guys in that car, and that's the greatest race in the world right there.
Here they come at the entrance to the corner. One car lane separate the top two.
When Ricky Craven and I were going back and forth, it was like boxers just taking their gloves off.
Getting physical here at Darlington Raceway like it's supposed to be.
They bump. Busch brushes the wall. They bounce off each other. Craven has the lead. Busch back underneath, regains the top spot.
Very difficult to pass at Darlington. Extra difficult when the tires are wore out, and they were.
Ricky Craven in hot pursuit, pedal to the metal.
Craven has another shot, but only one. The white flag out this time.
I wasn't sure that I could actually pass him. You know, I was sure I could get ahead of him. And with a few laps to go, it's going to be a contact sport.
Busch, Craven, nose to tail. Here comes Craven down to the bottom, trying to hang on. Both cars are loose in four.
This is going to be close. They lean on one another. Across the line, Ricky Craven gets the win. That's the kind of racing in the old days you used to see at Darlington. They got physical for the last 5 laps, and Ricky Craven couldn't have won by more than 6 inches.
I always wanted to win Darlington. Always, always, always. It's just too tough to tame. And I think as a racer, you really get up for a place like this.
How weird, you know, the paradox of this racetrack, the closest finish, and then the largest margin of victory in 1965 with Ned Jarrett. That was pretty phenomenal in its state. Kind of the end of an era, really, for Darlington, because after that, it just kind of trailed off.
The enthusiasm for historic events like the 2003 spring race in Darlington led the sport into new markets, new racetracks, new sponsorship opportunities. But the expansion beyond racing's southeastern roots left Darlington as a relic of the past. Struggling to hold its place in the sport, it helped build.
Evolution. Time has changed. We're now going to Kansas twice a year. We're going to Phoenix twice a year. We're going to Texas. We're going to different markets, and, you know, Rockingham, North Wilkesboro. All of those were getting chopped.
Since the mid-50s, NASCAR traveled to Darlington in the spring and at Labor Day. But that changed in 2004, with a restructured schedule that showed the market-driven emphasis on more fans, better amenities, and bigger action.
We are here today to announce some changes. The Southern 500 will move from Labor Day weekend to the November weekend formerly held by North Carolina Speedway. You always have to move stuff around for the betterment of the growth of the business, even sometimes when it carries that heavy attachment to tradition.
As much as we like to glorify everything, stands weren't as full as they needed to be.
We're saying that's not fair. Labor Day belongs here.
When you move that around, it comes with some controversy.
It was born in the South, but now is heading west and leaving more than a few good old fans steaming mad.
We were upset. We did not like Labor Day being moved. And of course, we weren't sure that NASCAR was going to stay here at all in years to come because of how popular the sport had gotten. You know, we didn't know what the future was here for this racetrack. It's little old Darlington, and it's not multi-million-dollar skyboxes on top of the grandstands. I mean, it just has that old school feel to it.
This is just another step of modernizing tradition. It's not forsaking it, it's not walking away from it.
When they moved it, said they were modernizing tradition. I said, what in the hell is that? How do you modernize tradition?
When I use the term modernizing tradition, is whatever you do next is going to set a footprint that either becomes spectacular or just another footprint.
For 10 years, Darlington felt its tradition erode. A race forever held around Labor Day was moved to Mother's Day. A race run in the sweltering heat of the day was moved to the shadow of night. Once, Darlington even hosted a race in November. Proven drivers were still carrying the Darlington tradition, but something was different. As the growing pains of a sport seeking new fans and a nation under the strain of a recession left a small South Carolina town clinging to to its national relevance.
You know, that's part of what made our sport what it is today. And now I think there's times when you can actually get too big. And when you go to Darlington, you forget about the fact that maybe we outgrew our shoes at times and bring it back down to its core roots. I mean, it's a good reminder of how we got where we are.
While NASCAR spent its Labor Days in other parts of the country, Darlington tried to redefine its legend. But the ink of nostalgia alone is not enough to revive tradition.
Take your time, take your time, take your time. No need to hurry. Take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. No need to hurry. No slipping, no sliding.
The Corona can always finds its beach.
It's time to do what you love at Guitar Center's Labor Day Savings Event. With select Martin acoustic strings, buy one pack and get one for a penny, or 20% off all Williams digital pianos. Summer may end, but your music doesn't have to. Guitar Center's Labor Day Savings Event, in-store and online.
This is the Wix Artificial Design Intelligence creating a website for you. Sit back and relax and watch me make your website original from start to stunning. Go to Wix.com today.
Tokyo-style ramen noodles. Fresh ingredients, step-by-step recipes, delivered to your door for less than $9 a meal. Get $30 off your first delivery at blueapron.com/cook.
Go big and pay small this Labor Day at Rent-A-Center. Get an Ashley sofa and love seat set, your choice, just $19.99 a week. Or grab a big screen 55-inch Vizio Smart TV, just $19.99 a week. During the Labor Day sale, only at Rent-A-Center. Yeah, you can do that.
I am Benedict Arnold, the infamous traitor, and I know a thing or two about trading. So I trade with E-Trade, where true traders trade on a trademark trade platform that has all
Get off the computer, traitor!
I won't.
Mobility is very important to me. That's why I use E-Trade Mobile. It's on all my mobile devices, so it suits my mobile lifestyle. And it keeps my investments fully mobile, even when I'm on the move.
Sign up at etrade.com and get up to $600.
After a 12-year hiatus, the race is back where it belongs. The return of the Southern 500 to Labor Day weekend. Teams, drivers, and the track itself looks back on its heritage, its tradition, its legends and heroes.
It's definitely throwback NASCAR. Feels like home again. While we were off doing Labor Day in Atlanta or other places, even though we may have been in a different garage area, the conversations were about weekends in Darlington.
It comes home today with a far more meaningful position we would never have known about had they not gone west for a while.
The Southern 500 returned to Darlington for Labor Day weekend in 2015. The weathered look of this lady in black was restored, along with the pride of a state, a city, and a people.
The idea to go back to Labor Day and running the Southern 500 is something that our sport really, really needed.
The retro paint schemes looked great, and the drivers brought their A game, and I just felt a huge sense of gratification that my grandfather's dream and vision was back, and it was exactly what he would want to see happen.
Coming back to Darlington with the Southern 500 on Labor Day turns out to be the very correct thing to do. And I'll admit that and say that to anybody that asks.
43 strong, coming to the green flag for the Southern 500.
It was bringing it all back home. That is just a remarkable happening. All the planets were in alignment, and it was such fun to do.
Real special occasion. What do you think of the old place this evening?
Well, it hasn't changed a lot as far as the racetrack itself is concerned, chewing up the tire just like way back in the early days.
That's what these drivers wanted. They've got their hands full out there tonight.
At the cradle of American superspeedway racing, Darlington, South Carolina. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a race.
It's the season for running free. No other way now. I can't see. Why wait behind?
Darlington, there's no other place like it.
When you go run the Southern 500, it's supposed to be Southern 500 hot, and that's so hot you can hardly bear it. That's what made it part of the tradition. I mean, how many fluke Southern 500 winners are there? Not many. Then when they moved the date, that took some of that away. Now, back and it's hot, the pavement's starting to wear out, starting to, get that old Darlington feel, and now it's starting to come back.
Granted, it's smoking hot. There's an argument that it's maybe a deterrent for fans. It's certainly tough on the teams and the drivers. But at the end of the day, the Southern 500 is really needed on our schedule. This is the history of the sport.
Carl Edwards. He'll add his name to the legends that have won at Darlington.
Darlington's been such a big racetrack to me. It looms so large in the racing world that win's special.
For the Southern 500 to be one of our sport's biggest 4 races, it needs to stay on that date. Tradition matters.
Man, I have to hand it to her. The lady in black has held up well. With all her Southern spellbinding charm, this is a lady you'll never forget.
Ever since I was younger, I used to just jump my dirt bike or my trucks. It's something that I've always wanted to do, is just see how far I could jump my race truck.
In 2003, I got my first driver's license, got a Chevy Silverado, and within a month, I took it out to the desert, hit a jump with it, and broke the truck, and my dad was screaming at me, but it kind of led me to this, the off-road world.
I've been racing off-road for 8 years now. We've won 6 championships, and it kind of just feels like I've got to that point where we could make the next big thing in off-road happen, and we all sat down and talked about a jump probably, 3 years ago. It's gonna push the limits of myself. It's going to challenge our team and everybody around us way more than we've been challenged so far, but I feel real passionate about it and want to break a record.
Bryce is more competitive than I am. It just stays hidden inside. When it's race mode, he's a little grumpy, a little irritable, he doesn't have any time for you, and he, even if he does good or wins, he's still thinking what he could do better. It's more of an internal thing with him. He knows I expect to win. We talk about it. We talk about it as a team. We get paid to win. We don't get paid to get second or third. We get paid to finish and win.
With most jumps, the takeoff is usually easy. It's the other half, yeah. So we've got to have a really relatively solid idea of what it's going to do and how wind affects something. You could move the thing up and down with that gas or the brake. You start getting all these different effects that never happen when you're in the normal course of what the vehicle is actually designed to do. Like, this is a racing truck, it's not a flying truck.
We already see in racing when we jump long distances, sometimes it'll run out of gas in the air, seem like it's gonna die. That starts leveling the truck off or going the other way.
Right. There are so many things that start to come into play that you've never had to do before. And it's kind of the really cool part of this, but something we're incredibly sensitive to. So if any time in the process someone just says something's a little weird, it's like over-question it, because that little weird can become something really massive as your distances start increasing by 20, 50, 100 feet.
The difficult part about doing something first is that you're going to make mistakes. It doesn't matter how calculated you are, it doesn't matter how smart you are, how much knowledge you've had, you're going to do things that you think are going to work some way and they'll work a completely different way. But that's the beauty of it, that's the fun part.
When you're talking about 300 feet, the best way to visualize it would be a football field. You know, we're talking about 300 feet. We're basically talking about goal line to goal line in midair. We're jumping basically the floor of most football stadiums. I'm not 100% sure what goes through his mind, but I'm sure at some point with these guys over the years, oh shit has gone through their mind. No, I think what goes through their mind is, I think these guys are so focused on what they're doing. You know, they have to match the right amount of speed, be on the throttle and so on. So I think it's just mostly focus, you know?
This is tough to get a tank to land exactly where you want to. Any side wind, any gust of wind, it's a gust of wind that makes a difference of 40, 50, 60 feet. So when Bryce lands, he's going to have to land just about perfect.
Probably doing a little bit of praying, I would imagine.
I think we're far enough along in this project that your mom deserves to know what's going on.
Yes. So what exactly is the plan?
To take the Pro 2 and we're going to jump it and hopefully break. We just want to jump it really far, but we want to break the record.
What's the
in the
record?
process, which is 330 feet.
I thought you told me it was 150.
No, 150. We do that racing.
Well, that would be fine with me.
Yeah. A lot goes into it. Obviously, we're not going to just go jump right away. I mean, we're going to practice from a smaller stage. We've already sent the truck to the wind tunnel, so I mean, a lot's going into it. So it's not like we're just winging it, but I mean, it's still obviously dangerous. But
And then you land on the ramp?
Yeah.
I just want, I want you to feel safe and not be afraid to say, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing.
No, and at the end of the day, I mean, obviously, my life is way more important than breaking a record or doing something, so.
And I don't want you to worry about disappointing anyone, because that's not what it's about either.
No. The most frustrating part of the experience is the unknown. We're doing something that we have no idea what's going to happen with the truck, so it's all a learning curve. And this is something where we're jumping a truck so far that no one's done it yet, so it's all unknown, and we kind of got to roll with the punches and see how everything plays out. But just knowing that if we could push through this, we can kind of push through anything.
If you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, isn't it time to let the real you shine through? Introducing Otezla, Apremilast. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clearer skin is achievable after just 4 months, with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't take Otezla if you're allergic to any of its ingredients. Otezla may increase the risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Side effects may include diarrhea, nausea, upper respiratory tract infection, and headache. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Ask your dermatologist about Otezla today. Otezla. Show more of you.
Decision 2016 is a win-win at Golden Corral. Get 2 classic dinner buffets for just $22. Then make the weekend spectacular with endless prime rib and premium favorites just $13.99. We are Jeff Foxworthy and we approve this message.
Beard hair can be as strong as copper wire. The Gillette Mach 3 is precision engineered to cut hair this tough. No wonder it has the world's #1 selling blades. Mach 3, now as low as $10. Gillette.
The turbocharged dream machine, the Volkswagen Golf GTI, named one of Car and Driver's 10 best 10 years in a row. Meet the John Deere Gator XUV 590i, a vehicle so versatile, it owns anything outdoors. 32 horsepower, a 1,200-pound payload, and over 1,000 different ways to configure yours. Go Gator.
Hot Pockets.
At our house, we're always down for more. Case in point, our handcrafted skydiving chamber.
Be hungry for more. Just never be hungry. With premium pepperoni and 100% real cheese.
Hot Pockets.
Inside the rack houses of Jim Beam, thousands of barrels lay silent. Aging, building a fuller, smoother flavor that only comes from being aged 4 long years. At Jim Beam, our history's made from the inside. How will you make yours? Now try Jim Beam Apple, poured over ice and served with club soda and a fresh lemon wedge to make a crisp, refreshing Jim Beam Apple and Soda.
Bryce Menzies' new frontier is powered by Pennzoil Synthetics. Make the switch to next level performance. And by BF Goodrich Tires. Are you driver enough?